Alright, so here out in the garden again on lockdown, and one of the things that people need to be doing really when they get out there is kind of tidying round and cutting things back. Um, and it's one of the things I think people worry about the most is what do I cut, what don't I cut, how do I cut things back, am I going to kill things? Um, the answer is usually no. Worst case, you're probably going to deny yourself of flowers for that particular year. So I'm going to start off showing you how to prune some of the climbers. This is a good thing to start off with. Different climbers need different pruning, but it's not as difficult as you might think. So let's take a look at some of the climbers.
So there's three types of climbers: type 1, type 2, type 3. This one we're looking at here is a type 3. Um, the way you know it's a type 3 is usually because you'll see lots of new growth coming um, at each nodule of the stem, usually coming out of last year's stems, which are that kind of reddy brown colour. This is the older wood here. And you can see there strong new growth coming out of these nodules, and that stem there is what's going to have the flowers on, so that is what you want to keep. Now, I actually pruned this last weekend, and at the time all of this was growing right the way up, and there's new growth right at the top, and you could leave that and it would be okay, but all your flowers then are going to be really, really high up, and what you want to do is you want to have layers. And so type 3 clematis, you want to cut right back down to about this level, and then layer. So have a couple higher, a couple below, but none too high. And this will grow really vigorously, so don't worry, this one clematis will cover this entire arch. Um, so what you want to be doing is cutting right at a nodule, and then leaving that growth to grow up the arch or the bamboo wigwam or whatever it is that you grow them up. So this is a type 3. And as I say, you'll know this, it'll flower after June. So you want to prune that. So here's an example. Even though I cut this last weekend, I can still prune this further. So here's really strong growth at a good level. So if I cut here, that'll become even more vigorous and grow even better. So you want to take the old stem that's growing up in between the two, and you want to cut it about there. So get your snips or your scissors, whatever it is that you're using. Get that right into the old stem, right down. Just be careful of the new growth, and cut steady. And then take out the old wood, and that's it. Job done. And as I say, you want to do that all fairly low. I mean, if you've got new growth right at the ground, you could even take it right down to the ground. Don't go into the really old wood. Another one there. Always where you can see new growth coming out. And that's it. Get rid of the old wood, and that's you pruning your type 3 clematis. Last thing you want to do is just make sure that you're tying everything in properly, because if you're taking out the old wood, that's usually what's gripped onto the frame. So just tie those in like that. Bit of string, not too tight. Jobs are good. Okay, so type 1, these flower before June, and the easiest thing to remember is if it flowers before June, don't prune. As easy as that. You can see here that this is these are the buds that are coming off last year's growth, and you can see the tiny little flowers there. So you know that that's going to flower fairly soon, and you don't want to touch these at all. It flowers off last year's wood, so if you cut that back, you're not going to have any flowers. If you do need to cut one of these back, cut them back after they flower, and that way you've got enough time left in the year for new growth to come, so you still get flowers next year. You can see there another little tiny flower. Often you'll have a label such as this. You can see on there the name of it, one of the Montanas, which is quite a common type 1, and there it is. Do not prune. Okay, the last type is type 2. Quite a tricky one because they look pretty much the same for the most part as a type 3, but the difference is that they will have big flowers early on and then small flowers later on. And you can see here, a bit like the type 1, you've got flower buds already, so you do not want to prune this at this stage unless you get any sort of straggly old dead growth at the top, which you can see there, and that is worth taking out now. So all you want to do really on these is get them tied up, because they'll have quite big flowers, so the weight of those will pull things down. So just get this tied up in the usual way, and attach that to there, and that's really all you need to do. I suggest looping the string around, so it's not too tight, so you're getting like a figure of 8. So all you do at this stage is tie them in and wait to enjoy the flowers. Okay, next up you've got climbing roses, and again I pruned this one last weekend. You can see here that you've got the kind of classic climber structure. This one's called Iceberg, and what you're basically doing pruning here is creating a frame. So you'll have there's a badger cat there. You'll have a structure like this with a main stem, and that will run across, and then off that you'll have sort of side shoots, and the side shoots are what are going to have the flowers on. So all you're doing is cutting back and creating a structure with one long stem and then lots of side shoots. Then you'll see once you've pruned it back like this, you'll get new growth coming out. Just like with the type 3 clematis, you want to cut right back down low to where there's good new growth coming through at each of the side shoots, and that'll get you the best display of flowers this year, and a great structure. It'll look great, and yeah, that's the climbing rose. Okay, up last for the roses, and indeed the climbers, is the rambling rose. And you can see why it gets its name, because unlike the climber where you've got a very straightforward structure, this is a beast. And if you're going to prune this, prune it in the summer, and just prune it like the type 1 clematis if it's getting a little bit wild and out of hand, because this will flower on last year's wood, and so if you cut that out you'll lose your flowers this year. I do cut this back every year in the summer, and that's the time that you want to do it if you are going to cut it back. And you can just see this thing is wild, it's all over the place, and it will have lots of really small white flowers similar to you might see in the wild or in a hedgerow, and that's the best way to identify a rambling rose. Small flowers fairly early on in spring. That's the rambler, and indeed that's how you prune your climbers.
So that's your climbers. I hope that helps. As they get out there, give it a go, get them cut back ASAP, because you want enough time for that new growth to get going, so that you get out there now, and you'll see the benefits of that in the summer. So from me, and from him, enjoy.